Hi there, Frederick. Congratulations on your Oscar nomination. You
Thank
are
you very
breaking
much.
you are breaking barriers with the nomination since you have become the second Asian American to be nominated for Best Hair and Makeup for the Oscar and the first Filipino to be nominated in this category. Are you aware of that? And what was your reaction when you heard about your nomination? And how did you
Uh,
find out about it?
well, first I want to say Mabuhay, Philippines. I'm so excited to be here this morning to talk with you and to share my joy of this nomination. It's a historic, a milestone of a nomination. I am very honored. I was, obviously I posted a video of me crying because it was such a authentic emotion because I've never, well, I always dreamt of always becoming an Oscar winner, but was never like, something I would always want to do. But when I heard that name, I just was like in shock and I let out that huge scream and I cried for like a good long period of time because I just thought of all of the sacrifices and the work that got to, what that got me to where I am today. I'm still, as you can see right now, I still am searching for the words that are like explaining how I feel. But you can see it in my face. It's this morning. Every time I look in the face of myself in the mirror, I look at my face. I'm like, geez, I just can't believe it. It's like, so I'm blown away. Thank you.
What was the first thing you did, and who was the first person you called or texted?
Well, I called my sister first because we share such a very tight bond, and I called her. I got and cried, and we talked about our mother, and we talked about how how much I used to dream about this as a kid, doing what I do, and I'm just really fortunate that I got that opportunity because of my parents and because of just all this hard work. But I called her first, and like I got a call from Gaga right away, just to congratulate me, and I was really surprised she would call me right at that second and called me and to just congratulate me and to, obviously I felt a little bit of sadness, but then she is such an amazing human being that she shared her wisdom and shared her joy for someone that she's worked with for over 15 years, that she can still make me smile and even make it about me and make it about like, all the hard work that we put into this film. And I still, to this day, I'm sharing my award to her. She keeps saying no, but this is your time, this is your award. This is for all of us. It really is.
Can you tell us how you started working with Lady Gaga and what is the secret of your long relationship?
Well, the secret is the secret. There is no secret. If you can see what she wrote about me, we're open about our friendship and we're open about our process and the House of Gaga. We are such an amazing family, really are, and we love each other and we work with each other and respect each other very well. And that's what longevity is about. When you work with somebody, you're not just working with somebody, you are invested in the person's life. And with her and I, when we started working together very long ago, we were both somewhat coming out of our career, and or not coming to our career almost like a very spontaneous kind of way. There was no like, oh, I need to go work with her. It was just like a natural match that my agent Kent Belden, with the only agency which I've been with forever, has called me one morning, and I was in bed and it was like, at that time I was working with Paris Hilton for years, and he said, do you want to work with this new artist who's coming out? She's going to be great. And I said, sure. Her name is Lady Gaga. And I saw her bled on stage the night before at the VMAs. And I was like, whoa, okay. So, the friendship started with us because we we're both interesting in our dynamics of the way we look at a project or art or hair or clothing or makeup, or we look at it at such a different perspective. And I think we share that same creativity, that desire to really fulfill our soul and to bring happiness to so many people around the world. I think that's part of it. And we also have the same work ethic. I mean, she's definitely I mean, I can only imagine her brain, but like I can understand it. And hopefully I can help her, you know, bring to the stage what her vision is, you know.
Since you have worked with her in almost all her videos, her tours like Monster Ball Tour and films like Stars Born and TV series like American Horror Story, you already have kind of shorthand with her. But how different was your experience with her in House of Gucci?
Well, that's the difference is very clear is that she what my what my one thing I would know I had from her is that she's like, you know, you've known to done every look that I've ever done, and I don't want to look on the screen and see Lady Gaga. So that was the most hardest thing to do because you had to erase all the iconography and you had to start. So for me, it started with not just, you know, copying Patricia's hairstyle that we see in a photo somewhere, you know, which really did, there was not a lot that was out there of photos of Patricia. So I had to start with really authentic researching and talking to Italian women. I had Zoom calls and I had meetings with people locals that used to live there. And before we went to Rome to film, I watched a lot of Italian films, Fellini, and so there wasn't a lot to choose from in terms of American iconography of Italian women. So the really important was to do extensive research on what would an Italian woman's lifestyle be like, what type of like music would she listen to, culturally, to find the exact look that would portray the first image you saw of Patricia as a young woman in the film. Because there is no photos of Patricia when she was a very young woman. But that was the challenge, is to merge the two together, to make it look as real as possible, as honest as possible. And then to be able to map out those looks. I went page by page on the script, mapped out every hairstyle, every look, chronologically from the early 70s to the mid 70s to the early 80s, late 80s. I mean, 3 decades, the late 90s. And it was such you know, it took months and months of preparation because I wanted to get this right. And I wanted to do the character justice. And also because Gaga is such a very talented actress in the way she just pushes her whole soul into a character and becomes that. She lived as Patricia for almost a year, her dialect, and started to really prepare for that. And I've never seen someone so determined and so magically, she was not even Gaga, even at home. I mean, when I saw her hair, we would test hairstyles out even before I made, you know, like 15 wigs for her to try, just so she can get into the character. And so there was a lot of that, just the nuances, how she's going to feel. So it felt supernatural on camera. Like this was her hair, and this is how she would have had it, and this is how she would have styled it. And it just slowly progressed in the film until the end, until you saw the real Patricia on stage. So that's how we laid it out.
Can you name 3 memorable looks that you have created for her?
Oh, that's a hard question. That's like everyone asks that question, even like in her, you know, catalog of looks. And I've done, there were 15 tour hairstyles. There was, you tell me what it's like. But, you know, I would have to say the one that was the most challenging to convince everyone was the perm. I don't know why the perm was such a, but if everyone knows from the 80s, early 80s, that the perm was considered such a luxury thing to get. And she was at that time Patricia was starting to become very wealthy. She was married to a family. So she had to look the part. And I had to convince, when I did I tested the perm, a real perm, the way they did it back in 1982, really frizzy, really big and really big. And Gaga saw that wig on a mannequin head, and Ridley saw it too, and he was like, "Oh, I don't know." And that's why he said only 2 wigs, and you know, make it really pretty. I'm like, well, the 80s was really a pretty decade with terms of some of the styles are like a little questionable. So getting them to convince them, putting it on her head, selling her my idea, selling it to Ridley. I mean, every day was that type of challenge. It's like, okay, so this what stays, look, was this a scene, what? And then what's these costumes like? We planned it right from the down to like the nail color, and then we presented it to Ridley. And then but right before we shot it. So it had to be right. You can't just put on glue on a wig and all that 4 hours of preparation and then like, oh, we don't like it. It doesn't shoot well. No, I had the preparation because I read the story. I read what her life was going to be like. This is what it would look like. And just naturally, she put it on and she was like, Patricia. And then she was like, Father, Son, and House of Gucci. That was exactly what it is. And that iconic scene now is like, I couldn't imagine if it was a different like hairstyle. It would just completely be like, anyways, but that's, yeah.
What was the most memorable, challenging, or difficult part in your journey to become an accomplished hairstylist that you are today?
What is challenging in my life that is at the journey that I've taken? I mean, you're going to face so many challenges in life. I think what made me better is the challenges I have faced in life. I think without them, I would not have become the artist I am today, the kind of person I am in my heart, and the type how I create things. I work from my emotions and I work from my heart. And when I was creating these hairstyles for these movies and prepping for these movies, just to understand the type of the perseverance and obstacles you have to go through in life. And my mother passed away about 6 months before we started filming this movie. I'm not going to cry this morning because I'm proud to be able to share my feelings and my emotions, what I went through the grieving part of it. And my mother was a hairdresser, and she would have been so proud when she saw all the work that I put through to create these styles. And I believe that when you create hair or you do someone's hair or how you make them look really emulates their emotions and in how they feel. So with Gaga, we worked every morning right before we got on set and how I was going to style her hair based on how she was going to play the role. And that's how brilliant her mind was, is because she wanted to really let us understand, her makeup artist, Sarah Tano, and I, how she was going to play it so we can properly style it. And it was that type of, profession. But, it was not easy every day to persevere and push and push and push when you have something that's so tragic in your life, like as losing a parent and someone who has significantly influenced my life, and then have to put on my happy face and work. Gaga talks about mental health so much, and it's such an important thing as artists in this industry. And a lot of people who are starting out in this industry are going to face a lot of rejection. They're going to face a lot of obstacles in life. That's part of it. Life is not about just everybody's going to love what you do. You have to do the work, and you have to prove to yourself what you know. You have to honestly understand your craft and honestly understand. That's how I'm going to build my confidence and be able to face the world again and be able to put out art and put out anything. And it doesn't have to necessarily have to do with just being an artist. It can do with everything in life, what when you want to achieve. And I say that to people. A lot of the fans who've written me, they're so nice and so sweet because they've written to me, and they've, a lot of her fans are like, now I've grown with them, and they've grown. I've watched them grow, and it's been her 15 years that she's out, and now a lot of them were really young at the time, and it's so sweet because I get messages now from them and saying how they have been so inspired by my work and my passion and how liberating it. And when I create something, you can feel my emotions when I do that. And now they're hairdressers and they're successful and they're doing fashion and they're creating work. And I'm like, whoa, they're doing some great stuff. And like, they're taking it to the next level. So it's like, it also puts a little bit of fire under me, but it also is so really amazing to see them like just thrive. And people are photographers and makeup artists. And this like, it's an endless community of love and kindness that is part of this whole community of monsters, and little monsters are so sweet, but her fans are the best. And it's really cool.
And you are Vietnamese Filipino. How is it growing up in two cultures?
Delicious. There's so much good food. I mean, Asian families, I compare my family to my upbringing to like my, other cultures I've grown up with, and it's very different. Our culture has a lot of, standards, and I think it's just because standards and to strive to be perfection. And my parents did that, but yet they allowed me to breathe. My father was really an artist. He played a lot of music, and he was really animated and talented in music, but he also was really good with his hands and fixing things. My mother was really smart and intelligent with her mind. And then there's me. I was in the middle. I'm not really like great with both, but they allowed me to make mistakes, which I'm very, very fortunate about, but they were like, you always have to remember to take care of yourself. I can see how my father just being like, you need to take care of your health and be nice to people and be kind. And my mother was like, don't let people hurt you or take advantage of you. And I think they talk about those kinds of things because what they went through coming here to America and dealing with a lot of the oppressive things that they had to do as becoming refugees of the country, Vietnam War, and my father was a Filipino GI, and dealing with the things that they had to deal with as they grew up, with all the being non-inclusive with society, and there was my mother being like an Asian woman who started her own business, and it was so monumental in the early, like late 80s, 90s. I mean, there wasn't many at that time. Now there's tons of hair salons and nail salons, and she taught me that you have to work hard and you have to always strive to be the best, because things aren't going to come as easy for you. And I didn't understand that until as I got older. I had to understand that those kinds of opportunities we already, as an Asian man, I received rejections because I didn't fit into some type of stereotype, and I early learned on because of the just industry of this is like that. It's based on looks and stereotypes, and and for me, that type of mentality was like, I'm going to prove you wrong. And time and time again, I just put my head into my work and strive to be good at what I was at. So there was no question about what, abilities I had if I had to face. And that's one thing that was like my strength, is that you can never take away your talent. Everyone is talented, you just have to find that inside you and like really hone it. And that's the one thing that no one can ever take from you.
Have you visited the Philippines or Vietnam recently?
I have been to the Philippines. We were fortunate enough when we were on the world tour for the Born This Way tour with Gaga that I got to visit, my father's homeland. And, I used to talk, my father's from Batangas, and, the Aspiras family is like really known in Manila. So it was such a, like, what I remember as my father talking a bit about me, how I was used to go fishing, and because Batangas is so beautiful. When you ever go to the Philippines, because when we were young, we couldn't really afford it, but he was talking how beautiful his country was, and about how great the food was. And he was talking about all the desserts they had there and all the food. I don't want to talk about food because I'm probably hungry, but he talks how beautiful this country is. And I look at, my uncles and they all live here now, but, I went back, and my father passed away in 2007. And, his ashes were taken home to Batangas and to his family and put there, and because he wanted to do that. And so I went to go visit and see his village, and it was like such a beautiful moment because I just saw it and remembered. But I was such a short visit, and I want to go back, and I want to see so many people, and I want to visit Vietnam, but it's been so difficult with my schedule. You know, I haven't been there, but my mother was. It was such a difficult situation for her to leave her country during a war that was very hard for her to go back and to see it completely different. So we never went back. But I want to go back, and I'm so proud to be like, you know, see where my mom came from and see and visit more of the Philippine culture and to really be excited to be. So hopefully I can, and you know, hopefully I'll meet more of my family there.
You mentioned your mother. What kind of influences did your mother had on you becoming a hairstylist? And at what point in your life did you decide to become one?
Well, my mom was a very hardworking woman. Like I look at that woman and I'm just like, geez, she did everything she could for her children. Both of my parents did. I bet she did really a lot. I mean, she had 7 children. Well, and I was the last of them. So, you know, as the youngest kid and me being different, and me being the kind that was not like the rest of my brothers and sisters, she honed in on that and tried to put maybe a little more effort in hard knocks on me because she wanted me to really, she wanted to protect me, I guess. And when I was really young, my mom started her own business. I said she was a hairdresser, and you know, she brought me in to help clean up the house. I saw her how she interacted with people, and they loved her. They really loved her. The way she was so gentle and so sweet and lovable. They used to call her Miss Susie all the time. How much they loved her, and I saw like how that affected me and made me think about the humanity of people, life. That everyone is different, and everyone is to be treated the same. And she, in terms of like what struggles they're going on in life, and she would sit down every single person and treat them with the most loving and compassionate heart and peace. And she would, so I wanted to do that. And I don't know why, I just started to watch, and you know, I didn't really learn about the technicality of it. I just started to do it. I did makeup too, and I would do it on my sister, and I was 12, 13 years old. I was like, okay. And then mom was like not saying anything. And then one day she was like, why don't you try it on me one day? And then I did. And I did it. And then before you know it, I was 13 and started to do stuff around the hair salon. And she would teach me and do wet sets and all these really, they don't teach that anymore, classical trained hairstyling, which was like so great. And she wanted to be like all the rest of the hair salons, you know, those successful hair salons. She wanted to be like that. But, you know, but she saw that in me and that I could take that to the next further. And I wanted to do that in fashion. And I ended up doing makeup and retail, and I did all the stuff. But she really was the one who influenced me a lot in terms of hairdressing. And she really saw that in me. And I didn't want to do it for a while because of the stigma of being gay and you know, that just being ashamed of that, which was so nonsense. You know, that's nothing to do with your talent, and you should be proud of that. But she was proud of me, and I was very, very fortunate of that.
And to honor your mom, you also started this ICAN project, which helps single
Yes.
mothers start their own businesses. So can you talk more about that?
Yes, a very good friend of mine, Paula Cantu, and her Ross Cantu. Those 2 friends of mine, they're like family to me now. But they started the ICAN project, which I found to, you know, when they first started the project, they were like now they're getting up there. If you look up ICAN project, they do such amazing work to help the Indian reservations and single mothers. And she knew about my mom, and she knew how much my mom really was a role model for a lot of women out there who wanted to start their own business and had children and didn't know where to start. And she was a refugee too, and she didn't have the means, or she had to work 3 jobs. She didn't want. So what I wanted to do was give back to in honor of her and honor of a lot of women out there who are struggling to make it to start a different life for their children. Had not, and my mother had this business, I would probably not have been a hairdresser, you know. But she wanted to make a change, and that's what I want to do for another family. I want to do that for another women who are out there who need the help, you know, so who need the guidance and that need a little bit of funding to help them with that education and tutoring and mentorship. That's what the ICAN Project will help you do. And I'm very proud to have partnered with them to start this grant. And I'll do it every year around my birthday or around her birthday in honor of her, to collect money and donations so that we can help a lot of women out there.
Why do you think representation in Hollywood is so important these days?
Well, absolutely is important. You know, when I was starting, when I heard I was going to be nominated, if I was going to be nominated, I wasn't even nominated yet. But before that, I had this desire to do more than just be nominated for an artist, you know, for work, which I acknowledged that the work I did was great, and you know, they think it's great, but I felt that especially now with our climate, with Asian representation, is so crucial. Like in a multicultural, diverse, and like multifaceted society, it's vital that we have to amplify our voices and, you know, and share the story. This is why I'm here talking to you today. I wanted to share my story so that I can have that someone can watch this and see something that they look like me and they have similar stories than me. I'm not the first refugee or whatever, but I'm at this point where now I have a platform and I want to use it to help bring light and positivity to my heritage, to my community, and to, you know, as an Asian American. I speak a lot to the young and aspiring artists striving to make impact in this country, to do more. You know, there is more that we can do. There is more that you can achieve. You know, we are conditioned sometimes to think that this is the type of, be a doctor or be a lawyer because it's successful. It sure says there is more to that. There's different endless possibilities you can try. You know, there isn't a lot of us Asians in this industry that get recognized, but there is a lot of us. There's Tim Boucheron, who is just very successful, a very talented makeup artist who's done, like, you know, the Dream Girls. He's so successful. He reached out and congratulated to me, and I'm so proud to be able to give back this way and to be a representation of my community.
What would you advise the upcoming young aspiring hairstylists who want to follow your footsteps?
Well, you know, first of all, listen to your mom. Well, you know, I tell this to a lot of people, is that try to be yourself. It really is important. Stop trying to strive based on my path. My path is my path. My journey is my journey. Your journey is your journey. Your time will come. You just have to wait and be patient, and it will happen. Because if it happened to me and I waited this long, it could happen to you. So it doesn't have to happen when you're 20 or whatever. Discover, learn, and really grasp and make a name for yourself in this community before you achieve to become like the greatest of great. Because to be able to do all that, you have to really master what you do. And that's the great thing. And in order to sit here and be able to talk about my work with a very honesty, you have to be able to you have to have the work behind you and to help you. No one's going to just give you, really, that saying, if no one's going to give you a handout, you really have to grab that. And that's what I would say.
Thank you very much. And we love talking to you. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.